Do a secondary recording just to be safe.
I assume Angela was attending to person.
Forgot we were waiting for Angela.
Otherwise, I think they're still cool. Like 4 to 6.
Yes.
Math.
Well, we'll go just a couple minutes and we have a quorum, so we can.
That's what we were just talking about, yeah.
Are you ready to go?
Ready as I'll ever be anyway. Here she is.
Give me a minute to get situated. Not a problem.
Harvest time of year.
You hear it? No, I think he's in Texas. Okay, guys ready?
Yep. Turn that off.
I'm wondering if you need to go get Jerry Lynn and ask if there's a way to tone that down, because that is very irritating. There. What's that?
It went down.
Did it?
Didn't do anything.
Hello?
It's down.
Yeah, it's not doing it now. I don't
Put
think
it right away. Nope, it's back on here. You had it right.
Turn the.
Must be off, it's set automatically or something.
So now does it do it?
I don't know.
I don't know, let's see. Yeah, good.
I hit all the mute buttons over there, so.
Cool, we can say whatever we want, it's muted.
Still recording in 2 other places.
All right, we will go ahead and call the Monday, October 18th, 2021 Oronoco Township Planning Advisory Commission meeting to order. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you for that. Just a quick note here before we go any farther. Due to the federal and local pandemic public health emergency declarations and the regrading resurgence of the COVID-19 Delta variant, public attendance at public meetings may occur electronically as permitted by Minnesota Statute Section 13D.021. However, Planning Advisory Commission members will attend and participate in person to ensure compliance with the recent revisions to the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. All votes shall be taken by roll call, and all PAC members and members of the public in attendance should be able to hear each other. Physical access has been severely restricted to comply with public health guidance during the current public health emergency. For the record, present with me in the township board chambers at the community center are Mr. Mergen, Ms. Berg, Mr. Albrecht, Ms. Smith, staff, and we do have members of the public in addition to the applicant. I'd like to remind all meeting participants, please keep your microphones muted unless you're speaking to prevent backbeat and the echo effect. I also would ask each person who wishes to speak or ask a question to please use the hand icon and identify yourself as you begin to speak. We now have call-in capability by telephone, so please bear with us as we make adjustments to accommodate any callers. If anyone experiences any technical difficulties, please ask for assistance.
Did you get that, all you people online?
Okay, nobody.
Okay,
0 people.
got that out of the way. Moving on. Next item is to set the order of the agenda. We have the approval of the minutes. We have public hearing tonight, conditional use permit OR 2021-005 CUP by Rick Penz, followed by discussion items, other business, and adjournment. Any changes, additions, or corrections, or motions?
I move the agenda be accepted.
I second.
I have a motion by Mr. Albrecht and a second by Ms. Smith to approve the agenda as written. All in favor, Mr. Mergen.
Aye.
Ms. Berg.
Aye.
Mr. Albrecht.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
I
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Okay, approval of the minutes. Hopefully you all had a chance to look those over. Any comments, changes, corrections, motions?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Seconded.
I have a motion by Ms. Berg and a second by Mr. Albrecht to approve the minutes from September 20th, 2021. All in favor, Mr. Mergen.
I'll go with aye.
Ms. Berg.
Aye.
Mr. Albrecht.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. Okay. Tonight we have public hearing condition, I gotta get to you. Conditional use permit OR 2021-005 CUP by Rick Penz. This request is for a conditional use permit for the crushing and recycling of aggregate materials and structured soils, as well as an accessory building for equipment storage. Elliot, I believe it's over to you.
Thank you. I'm Christy stand-in for tonight. My name's Elliot Muller. I'm the other planner, or one of the only other planners with Olmsted County Planning. And I'll be presenting Oronoco Township Conditional Use Permit OR 2021-005 CUP by Rick Penz. So to start things off, here's the site location. To the north, you can see Oronoco Estates. To the south is True Star, and there's a junkyard. And to the east, it looks like another quarry or some farm fields farther out east also. The property is located in the northwest quarter of Section 33 of Oronoco Township, east of Highway 52 and south of Oronoco Estates. And it's outlined in red, if you couldn't tell. Currently, the property is zoned Agricultural Resource Commercial Extraction and Reuse, ARC-AER. So is the property to the east, south, and west with some highway commercial. Farther to the west and to the north, R2, Oronoco Estates, the manufactured home park. The underlying land use is urban service area. The city of Rochester is planning to eventually annex this sometime in the future, unbeknownst to me. The applicant's request is a conditional use permit for the crushing and recycling of aggregate materials and structured soils along with an accessory building. This is relatively straightforward CUP. The property has already been used for this. It just came to staff's attention that the existing CUP on the property had an expiration date that was supposed to expire in 2007. And so because we became aware of it, we just reached out to Rick Penz, basically just to get this process going for you, for a CUP to continue that use, but also to put on a new accessory building for storage and whatnot. But I'll let him explain that when he comes up for public comment. Here's a site plan that he proposed. This building would go right there with material stockpile to be recycled over here. I believe this is the existing access, or is this the existing access? We'll find out. But the applicant did propose a second one, which he'll have to take up to the Oronoco Town Board, since the Oronoco Town Board is the road authority in this case. So findings of fact, we have a set criteria that we use to look over these applications. I highlighted just some of the more important findings that we have. So the first one that we look at is it going to be injurious to the neighboring properties? You might have noticed that there is Oronoco Estates to the north, but staff feels that with adequate setbacks, I think Christy had suggested 500 feet for that crushing to occur, then it shouldn't really become an issue across the road. Again, it won't cause any lasting harm, so when the city does annex it, the property can still be used in the future for other things that might be the highest and best use. The applicant, as I'd stated, is proposing to put a new driveway in. They'll just have to confirm that with the Oronoco Town Board for accessing, or for an access permit. Staff doesn't feel that there's going to be any additional traffic due to this passing or denial of the conditional use permit, just because it's already been in use as is. Nothing crazy there. All crushing activities must be done in a manner to control dust. We don't want any, flyaway dust or fumes and noise to, affect any neighbors that might be there. And the applicant has stated that there won't be any water or bathroom facilities in the accessory building, but if there are, they'll have to get proper sewer and septic put in. So, moving on. Staff recommends, based on the positive findings, the fact that you, as Oronoco Planning Commission, approve the conditional use permit for the applicant to use the property for the crushing and recycling of aggregate materials and structured soils, along with an accessory building with conditions. And those conditions are as followed, and I believe they're in your staff packet, so you can follow along. I can read them out for the record, but I think we're sharing. All right. So I think in all, there's 9 conditions. Basically, a lot of it is just best practices, making sure, we aren't disrupting our neighbors. So that's why we have hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. through the work week, Monday through Friday, and then 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday, closed on Sunday. Pretty basic findings of facts that we have here. A grading and erosion control plan must be approved by the city of Rochester, just because it's in the urban service area. So they'll review it, then the applicant will come to the city or to the county planning office to apply for a grading permit, which we'll probably go through, but that all has to happen before the accessory building permit is issued. Again, best practices. This conditional use permit will rescind and replace the other 2 conditional use permits that are on the property, just because this is going to be the up-to-date one. It doesn't have a sunset period set to it like the other ones did. And then we did have a condition in there, condition number 8, the crusher shall be located no closer than 500 feet from any road right of way. And that, again, is just to make sure there's adequate setbacks so it doesn't disturb Oronoco Estates residents. So, as the Oronoco Township Planning Commission, you're tasked with motioning to, or start the public hearing, then motioning to approve, deny, or continue. You can also change the findings of fact or determine any potential additional conditions that you want to impose on this application submitted by Rick Penz. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Does that 500-foot setback include the road? I mean, I guess you said from the...
So it'd be starting at this red line,
red
500
line.
feet
Okay.
back. And that's just for the crushing activities and recycling. So that building can be located.
Sure.
Where
The
they,
noisy, dusty
Mhm.
stuff is plus the road. Okay.
So Elliot, it says, condition 9 says that it rescinds and replaces. the other two CUPs.
Mhm.
But we have no condition on here about reclamation. Now, in their application, they talk about it.
Mm.
But if we don't actually have a condition on there to do reclamation, then they wouldn't have to, right? Even though they're planning to, if we don't have a condition on it, it doesn't hold them to account.
Yeah, and you can definitely, if that's the way you see it, not that I disagree, just, playing middle ground. If that's a condition that you wanted to add after.
I mean, what they have in their application, I thought was fine, but I think
Yeah, I
if
mean,
we don't put a condition on it, I don't think they would be held responsible for doing that. And we want to make sure that all these guys, we've been pretty consistent about reclamation.
yeah,
So,
it's definitely up to your discretion. I mean, I would say any future potential sale, that would probably bind them to reclamation. But again, whatever the board's comfortable with. So.
okay.
One question. Condition 6, it says crushing activities shall be limited to Monday through Friday, but in the application, it says 2.9, work will be performed from 7 to 7, Monday through Friday, and on Saturday from 8 to 5, so it doesn't,
It even says it in condition 3.
Yeah.
They're not.
Not consistent.
so
We
it's
need
only
to-
Monday through Friday, and no crushing on Saturday is what, even though that's what they asked for in the,
No crushing on Saturday.
Does it mean they can do other activities
Yes.
besides crushing? and
Business
stuff?
transactions, whatever.
okay, I just want to make sure the condition supersedes what they asked for here in the application.
And this is those hours we've been consistent
Yeah.
with
With the other
everybody.
quarries.
I lost my page where
Page-
somewhere in this packet, it stated that their crushing would be limited to 1 month.
That was, I think, in the
Is
original.
that in the original?
Yeah, so the original one had
So
very
that's in the
strict
back.
timings, yeah. And so this new one would rescind all those conditions.
But at the time, they were actually doing mining as well.
Right.
So I think that's why it was limited to 1 month.
Paige, you signed off on the original. I think I saw your name.
Kevin signed it, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know why there was a time frame placed on it, like a 2-year or whatever? Why that was done?
Back then, we had a number of quarries pop up, a bunch of small ones, because they were doing the Highway 52 work. And most of them, their goal or their intent was to go in, mine it for the road work, and then be done. And so we had put that time frame, I think 5 years or something. We did that on like 3 or 4 of them at the time. So, and as you saw in here, they're not planning to do any more mining. They're just gonna recycle all the stuff that comes off the road.
So the CUP back then was for the mining,
Was for, right, for both.
for both.
But they were doing some crushing at the time, but it was more limited, the amount that they were doing, and so I think that's why we had 1 month. I mean, you're talking 19 years ago, so you're straining my brain to remember. But I think we put that time limit on a number of them, because they were only in operation through the 52 work.
So I'm still learning.
Fine.
Is it, like, what is the procedure when a CUP expires? Like,
Well-
is it customary that a business continues with, like, I'm just wondering, like,
So
and what, like, enforcement mechanisms there are when you do put a time limit on something? Like,
Yeah,
who's
so-
responsible for that?
in a typical situation, a CUP wouldn't expire. It runs with the property. The only time it would expire is if that use is suspended for a year, like Oronoco Auto Parts. There's a lot of back and forth with that property specifically. The way that it was supposed to go with the last one, with the sunset period, is that we would basically just have a code enforcement officer go out there just to check that activities have ceased. And then I'm assuming we would probably have to write something to rescind the conditional use permit from the property records, but.
That would be driven off complaint though, right? Primarily.
Not necessarily. If we had a note saying that it should have ended at this time, then typically we'll, put a note and whoever's gonna go check on it saying, hey, on this date, on this time, go check at it, or go check on the property. In this case, I can't really speak to anything that had happened, mainly because I was in middle school. But at the time, not to age everybody here. But, so.
There's people out there that were sitting out there the last time we did this.
Yeah, so.
Making us all feel good.
So the onus for that is on the county, not the.
So it will jurisdiction depending. So in this case, could have been the township.
The
But
onus would have been on us to go out in 2008 and say, hey, Rick, you're done. This expired last year.
So it's not at all on the person who has agreed. I'm just, like,
Well, you try to have some trust in
yeah,
the people too, but
okay.
typically on this stuff, unless there's a complaint, enforcement sometimes is.
and I will note there was no complaint. There's no violation at the time right now.
And so they're basically just asking to continue doing what they've been doing all along.
Very, very procedural.
So this is open-ended, there's no cutoff.
This CUP would
Yeah.
not have a,
Which,
But then it would be reviewed at a property sale or transfer of property.
if they ask, yeah. If that is a condition you wanted to put on, I'm not recommending anything, but if you're uncomfortable with it being indefinite, though I don't see any issue with it being indefinite, because again, like Kenneth said, future sale, annexation, things like that.
okay, well, we can come back to that. I will go ahead and open the public hearing, and because it is a public hearing, I will ask 3 times if there's anybody that would like to speak for or against this application. If you do, please step to the podium. There's a piece of paper up there. Please sign with your name and address, just so we have it for our record. And we will start with the applicant or their representative. Bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. I'm going to apologize in advance that I didn't realize I had this fancy electronic equipment.
Oh.
I had a thumb drive, but it was in good shape, but I apologize that I'm having Mr. Walker here hand out just a couple displays that I'd like to talk to, but just to hit a couple of the high points before, well, by the way, I'm not trying to go this is Mr. Penz, the property owner, and has been operating this process since the first conditional use was in 0102, and then continuing on to today. I'm not sure you're aware that Mr. Penz is closing his Fraser construction business, and he's going to concentrate on just doing the recycling and crushing of materials on this site. The building that's proposed on the northeast corner parcel would be for equipment stored and used in the operation of the crushing and the recycling. Just another important thing I want to point out before I go through these displays really quickly is that there are no commercial sales. In other words, you and I can't drive out here and say, hey, give me some structural soil or give me some crushed material. These are contract-related projects, so if there's a need in Highway 63 or 52 or some county road where they want to use the recycled material for base or whatever, they can come to Mr. Penz's office and contract to do that. And if in not too distant past, we buried this material. So to me, this is an environmental bonus for us to be able to use recycled materials for this purpose and not having to rely on creating new and digging up new rock and new materials to use. On the first little map I have here, this vicinity, just a couple little things I want to point out to you. To the northeast, where it says Roger Lampton, and adjacent to that is Matthew Construction or Milestone Materials operating a facility similar to, a mining facility similar to what Mr. Penz did have on this site. To the east of the Elkhart Construction, which you recently approved.
Where did you say that?
It's right here. This is
Oh, above
right,
Roger?
You see that driveway coming out there, right at the intersection of 31st Avenue? And,
So that's Matthew?
That's Milestone, Matthew. I guess I don't know what name to use, but immediately to the east of the yellow line is the Elkhart Construction Conditional Use Permit you issued. Has no sunset on that. They have mining operates through the conditional use permit and also the crushing recycling operation for their smaller projects. And then to the south under JRH Commercial has also been a long time mining operation there. I don't know when it started, but it's been there a long time. And of course, Watson Recycling to the south of this property, and Ryan Siding and Construction to the west. So just for perspective, we're, other than the Oronoco estates to the north, we are pretty much surrounded by the mining operations and or crushing and recycling operations. We have planned to do a restoration when we're done. That is in our report that we provided, and if you want to make that a condition, we're fine with that, because if you've been to this site, Mr. Penz has already been restoring everything from the mining operation. So we would do that with final. Once it's final and it's all done and not going to be operated anymore, it'll be restored. The second handout I had is essentially the approved meets and bounds, splitting this property into 3 parcels in April of this year. Those are all legally split parcels of record. The 2 that we're considering with a conditional use permit would be the one in the northeast corner, which is labeled parcel A, minimum 5 acres in size, which meets your zoning criteria for this district. Then sort of the L-shaped parcel in the center is what we call the remainder or residue parcel. And that's the one that would have the crushing recycling operation on it. The one to the west would be sold to someone else for a different business entirely. And we had planned from day one to have the 3 access points to the site. There's 2 of them there now. And I'll talk about the access in just a minute towards the end of the presentation if I could. But I was at your meeting and I said I'd get you an answer. We did that. It just got too late to come back and see you on October 4th. So once again, you can see with the surrounding properties, what operations they have on that and the meets and bounds that was approved. And it's this conditional use permit actually expired at one time, and that's why we're going back through the new process here. So we don't have any confusion about the continuity of continuing with the conditional use permit, but it is limited to simply the recycling operation, which will occur periodically. So this is not something that's going to happen every day of the week or every month, but it will happen periodically, more than a month a year. And it'll have to operate between those months of March through November, which is noted in the report that we provided to planning staff for review and to this planning commission. The actual, if you look at the site plan, I think it should look like this. Same one that Mr. Moeller had on the screen. Well, he's got it on the screen. The actual crushing operation is located at 675 feet from the south property line of south right-of-way line of 85th Street northwest. So that is within the range that planning staff has recommended and one of the conditions that's in the packet. And we will be using the normal Erosion control measures, we'll be controlling dust emissions with spray bars on the crushing and recycling equipment, which is a long time method of controlling dust emissions or, from the crushing operations. And it's the same sort of thing you're using right next door with the Elcor construction operation. The hours of operation, we were just asking for the same that was applied to the site before, Monday through Friday and then Saturday. It's also the same that was approved next door with Elcor for the crushing operation. They also could operate during those hours. Again, there's no sales of materials to commercial operations, non-commercial operations, so we couldn't go out there and get it. If you've been to the site recently, I was going to say that, you're going to see that he's kind of restored as much as 95% done in restoration. So that was from the mining operation. And then we'll be having a gate at the access point to the mining operation. It'll be locked and posted no trespassing. It's very similar to all the other conditional use permits that you've had. You'll note that there's an existing storm basin that divides the middle parcel from the west. So it's an odd looking shaped parcel. And so we want to split the driveways on each side of it. We don't want to run a driveway through that stormwater containment area. And that's one of the reasons we'd like to have a separate access to that. And then the access to the northeast parcel is way away. So there's also a memorandum, our engineer, Tyler Mandler, talked with Chad Schuman of the county about access. And Mr. Schuman had originally talked to Mr. Lacey about access. And Chad was indicating to Mr. Lacey that if it was a county operation and a county road with a higher volume of traffic and different speeds posted on the road, that he thought the spacing would require a joint access. However, our discussion with Mr. Schuman notes that there's in the county access management ordinance regarding spacing based on the roadway classification of 85th Street as a local road under the township jurisdiction, that there's no minimum access spacing required or defined in the county manual. So the shortest driveway spacing required for greater than 45 mph posted speed limit is for urban primary collector, which this is not, and that would be 275 feet. We are equal to 275 or greater between our access points. In fact, between the middle one and the easterly one, we're 400 some feet. So even if we were to classify this road as a collector, we would have a spacing of 275 feet. And we didn't realize that when we applied for and received the meets and bounds, but there was no condition about combining access. So we proceeded ahead and used the process selling the westerly parcel. And we don't want to commingle any kind of standard vehicle or traffic with trucks hauling material in and out of this site. So you can see what we'd have to do to get access to that building on the right-hand side, how we'd have to bring the access around the back and back out where the middle access is drawn there. So we would like to have the 3 access points. In ending, we are in agreement with the 9 conditions, and if you were to add the 10th condition regarding the restoration, we are acceptable with that. Well, I'm sorry, reclamation plan, we are in agreement with that. We will be having to do that anyway. There's a little bit of talk about enforcement. I've done probably my 53 years of doing this. I'm going to say 60, 70 conditional use permits. A lot of them have to do with mining. Others are different types of commercial operations. And at any time, inspection can occur on the site to make sure that our client is in compliance with what he said he was going to do on the site. And if not, we'll be back here in front of you, and I don't want to come back here. So I want to make sure, and Mr. Penz is fully aware. He's operated this thing for the last 18 years without any particular complaints that I'm aware of. Is that true, Mr. Moore? I couldn't find any in a record, and I don't think Mr. Penz has ever had a complaint from anyone. So One other thing that will happen right now, the traffic counts on the road is 325 a day, 24-hour, 18-hour count. And without the mining operation now, traffic from this operation will be reduced. So when we go to just the crushing and recycling, we're actually reducing the traffic that we're creating to and from the site. If you have any questions, you can ask.
So Bill, I saw in there that it said that the mining operation will discontinue. Has that already?
Has already.
It has already. Okay, the way it was worded, it led to believe that there was still a little going on, but.
No, there's some restoration to complete, but the actual physical mining operation has ceased.
Has
If you've been
ceased.
to the site, you'll see that it's all been
Okay.
leveled off and the drainage has been directed to the storm basins and so forth here, so.
And then, why the split back in April into 3 properties if you're now gonna use 2 of them for, what was the purpose of?
Well,
meets and bounds
originally, Mr. Penz at that point in time had not decided to close down Fraser Construction. So that's why we did what we did back then. Yeah, actually, I want to mention that the split itself was approved in April, but the split itself was really under consideration the previous year with COVID and everything else. We never got around to that.
Right.
We-
So what parcel B is just gonna be sitting empty or be sold off, or
B is the westerly one, that will be sold.
that'll be sold? Okay.
In fact, I think you've got a contract on it at this time. There's a contract already, sales contract on it already.
So that's, okay. And, and then, does Fraser operate any other mining in our township?
I believe so.
The call pit? So you're just continuing, you won't be doing that pit either? Okay.
Done.
Does Brian have somebody else coming in, do you know, or?
He won't decide till next year, so.
Okay. I was just curious, because I thought you were doing more than just this one.
Yeah, we have some projects to finish up yet. Next year, miscellaneous sand quantities are going to be from him next year. That's why he didn't want to renew it with me until it allows me to let me finish my work next year.
No.
So after that, he says after that's all done, I'll make a decision, so I don't know.
Okay. I haven't seen Brian lately, so I was. All right.
So none of this material that's being brought in to be recycled would ever be considered hazardous, right? It would be from a toxic waste site or something like that?
No, you can't haul it in and crush it or use it. That would be against PCA regulations. You wouldn't have a permit to do that.
Are most of the materials coming from locally, or are they being?
All local.
And the water's trucked in.
The water,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
Yep.
Spray
The
water
water
for the
truck.
crushing
Yep.
operation. And,
we've been using the water truck now.
okay. And then that just pools in sediment pond and
Drains to that ditch and settles out.
Oh,
Most of it becomes airborne. We have a mister that hits it in the air. So both on the bars and it sprays it out.
So in the original conditional use permit, it said that you would notify the planning department in Oronoco estates in writing as to the dates that crushing will take place. Why? Do you remember why that first?
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Everyone,
In the original conditional use permit, it required that the applicant notify planning department and Oronoco estates in writing as to the dates that the crushing will take place.
I think because we had it limited to 1 month,
Okay,
and that depending upon weather and all that, that month could shift due to different things.
so it wasn't because there was gonna be a bunch of dust or
No,
anything like that?
no, I'm pretty sure it was, they didn't know, if you have a late spring, the whole project is shifted, so we didn't know when that window would take
Okay,
place.
so it was a way of keeping track of the,
It was more, it was, back in 19 years ago, this was like experiment, really. Today, it's a actual standard procedure to do the recycling of the material. So,
They didn't do much of it
And
back
we
then.
subcontractors out 19 years ago, we didn't own a crusher 19 years ago.
What's that?
We didn't own a crusher 19 years ago, so to do this recycling, they didn't make one, that, we had to sub that out. So we didn't know when they were gonna come, when we'd have a big enough pile to crush.
Right.
It was all subject every year.
to prevent the piles from accumulating, we like to periodically crush this material, so.
Any other questions for the applicant?
So in here it says that it would be more during the construction season that you would be doing, not probably in the middle of winter in January, so.
Highly unlikely because of the source of the material, raw material would be,
I'll get to you, ma'am.
source of the material would be more during the construction season itself. A typical example, I think, for Elkhorn, for example, doing the North Broadway, Rochester, Minnesota project. That was during the construction season, we had material to crush in their site.
it says in the application that the normal staffing level should not exceed 6.
On the site.
And I'm just wondering, given that the building there isn't gonna have any water, where these people are going to use the restroom and have water available.
Mr. Penz is gonna apply for the septic system.
We're gonna put water.
You are, okay, okay. Why isn't this required to have a screening? The recycling of materials will not require screening of materials.
Yeah, to my knowledge, to the south and east, it's because it's similar uses. To the north, we'll have a great enough setback and whatever features are there should be adequate.
So before we go, I have one last question, Bill, for you. In that picture,
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm getting there. In this picture, it shows that a chain link fence will be installed around the property. How are you gonna handle the fence around that storm treatment facility? Will it go around it or through it? Because I assume when you say around, it'll go between parcel B and parcel C, where the proposed.
Usually we don't divide the pond with a fence.
That's why I was asking, because I didn't figure you'd go through it.
Probably up to it and have to leave that pond open, because you have to get in there and be able to clean that pond out. And that would be kind of a hindrance if you put the fence in.
Okay. Okay, I was
Just
just,
typically you don't fence off storm treatment facilities.
so the fence will come in from the north and up from the south and stop on both edges, ends.
So you
Okay.
would put a fence in the storm.
Okay. All right,
Relatively flat, this parcel is. I'm looking at the topography map, it's maybe 20.
It's a lot flatter now than it used to be.
So we did try to provide kind of some interim grades using the LiDAR survey on the site that they have changed as the restoration is taking place. So if we went out through the day, so it was confused.
Okay. They will be lower,
Level.
or level, I mean, yeah.
But he didn't change the drainage pattern, water all drains to the storm pond, which it has to, so.
any other questions for Mr. Toynton?
You asked mine.
What's that?
You asked mine.
Oh, on the fence?
So if something does come up, I have the chance to respond to it.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, second call. Anybody that would like to speak for or against this application? Ma'am, if you want to come up and sign your name and address,
I just had a question
okay?
about the water runoff. I was wondering how much water is going to come down through there. we have property across the road. And because this year was fine because it's a dry year. But there is not a waterways in the field across the road, and we get plenty from there. We don't need more water coming down.
Ma'am, could you state your name and address for the
I'm
record?
Arden Ottman, and we actually live in Cascade, 7015. You just want it written down here? We live, but the property I'm talking about is like section 29.
Can I ask her to show them?
It's not, it's not gonna be on there. No. Section 29.
Pull it out.
Is it related to this application?
Well, the water would be a concern if there's gonna be too much water coming through. It's coming onto the land that,
Their water is gonna go into,
Hold on,
which.
I'm gonna pull up the,
That would be to the west.
I'm going into
To the west.
You
here.
think it's gonna go west of them?
Well,
Yeah.
it's gonna go in the pond.
Those retention ponds are there now, right?
Correct.
yes.
Oh,
And they've
Yeah.
been there.
So
And they'll-
if you had a dry year this year, you wouldn't have anything to
Okay,
say against maybe next year's that. So have you had a problem in the past?
oh yeah, it's been water from the field across the way, the dirt, they've had to clean out the culvert because the dirt has all washed into the,
Right, but that's
But
not,
coming from. the-
that's not
That's-
coming from,
that's coming across the road, but I just was wondering which way this, I didn't realize that the retention.
Yeah.
Where am I at here?
Can you show me?
Go up.
Okay, we'll take a look when we drive by.
Am I close? Here, I'll let you drive. I don't know where I'm at.
Okay. Is the, right here. Right.
right there.
This is section
Oh,
30.
across
Yeah.
52.
Normal,
Section 29's over.
the normal water flow
So-
would flow back over to
So
the
go
north.
Can you, ma'am, can you see this
Behind-
pond
on the
here?
north side.
Ardith, do you know where
Or
these are where their water drains.
Okay, well, as long as they got sufficient ponds, because like I say, we don't need any more water filling up the culverts.
Yeah. It shouldn't be coming your way at all.
Yeah.
Section 29,
So-
right on the other side of the.
On the other side of the highway there.
Pond, yeah, right, what do they call it, the gravel pit over there.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, where they're at, you shouldn't have, it shouldn't affect you at all.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you. Did you write your name and address down for me? Thank you.
Yes.
I'm just here.
Oh.
I left my keys somewhere.
Gotcha.
You can't handle it.
Last call.
I have a question for
Part of
Ardith.
our jurisdiction.
Ardith, do you know where the water's coming from that's caused the erosion that you're talking about that they've
It's on
had?
the field next, across the highway, across the little road, yeah. It's on.
Somewhere there.
The field north of
Okay.
Of
Oronoco Estates?
Just north of the of 85th Street.
On which
West.
side of
South
52?
of 85th Street.
Oh,
We're on the north side of 85th.
So it's coming from here?
It's coming from a farm field that is not, that they don't leave any waterways
There's like a
in.
drainage right
And so the
here.
dirt all runs.
I
runs-
see.
Yeah, you shouldn't have anything from his side
No,
to
that's
yours.
what I was questioning.
If it drains to the west, Ryan Windows will have to deal with it.
Okay,
Yeah.
It won't come to you.
okay.
Did you have overflow 2 years ago when we had such a wet
That
summer?
pond's never been topped.
So we had, was it 2 years, 3 years ago, we had, when we tried dredging that Lake Summerall, it was, that was super wet winter, summer,
So, yeah,
very good.
Okay, last call. Anybody would like to speak for or against this application? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Discussion, comments? actions?
So did we officially add condition 10? We
Not
talked
yet.
about it, we never,
We haven't
You have to do that
officially
with
added
the
it.
motion, wouldn't it?
I think it would-
That would have to become with the motion, I think.
Yeah, we have it. It seemed like it was one other thing, and now I can't remember it, I didn't write it down. I'm assuming that there's really no plans for a sunset. I mean, this could go on for 30 years, right?
Well,
As long as Mr. Penz wants to keep doing it, or?
it could, with the exception,
But
the
is
change
that
that
the
could
norm?
be happening at that annexation area.
I don't think,
Sewer gets out there, it's doubtful that it would be within that timeframe,
Well,
Right
and I
now on
see
the
it's in
city's
there,
Land use map, it's beyond 20.
I was gonna say it's beyond 2050, so we're looking at 30
Yeah.
years anyway, so.
I have one question for you. Your proposed structure, is that your fuel
Do I need
station
to
and
open the
repair
public
shop for
hearing?
that? And,
I think so, yeah.
and
Ken,
your, maintenance?
You wanna hang on a sec?
Like, close this, we gotta reopen.
I need a motion to reopen the
Oh.
public hearing if we're gonna ask
Okay.
questions.
I
Which I'll
make a
do.
motion to reopen public hearing.
I have a motion by Mr. Mergen to reopen the public hearing and a second by Ms. Berg. All in favor, Mr. Mergen?
Aye.
Ms. Berg?
Aye.
Mr. Albrecht?
I,
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Okay, so then, so if that's your maintenance and your fueling station, do you have an access road within the properties to that facility? Or
Yes.
is your travel gonna be back out to 85th and
No.
over?
No, the gate on the, some of the fence in that area as well, so there'll be a gate on the southwest corner of that 5 acres.
Wonderful.
This one here is.
Right,
Like he's
and
talking
that's, and
about. And
but
he'll
then
come
you're
from the south.
I'm just concerned in regards to,
Won't go
because
on-
that would
we
be
won't go
slow
on
moving
any-
traffic, and you got a fence around the entirety of the crushing operation for, I don't wanna see that traffic go back up on the 85th Street.
No,
this year,
it's
so
not.
that's the only concern I hate to see them slow vehicles come out there and travel 300, 400, 500 feet over at
And turn back in.
20
Yeah.
miles an hour, or 10 miles an hour.
I assume that was that road coming up to the backside here.
Okay. That was it. Just late dawning. You gotta ask, re-ask
Any
three
other-
times, huh?
No.
Did you have something, Angela?
I don't know whether to, I mean, I'm a stickler for rules. And I'm just still trying to wrap my head around this 2-year thing and then an operation continuing after that, like without the owner going to ask for continuation. Like, and what I wanted to know is if that's the norm, like, because maybe that's just me being, and I don't know that that has anything to do with how I vote tonight, but it's like if I tell my kid he can play a video game for an hour, I expect at the end of the hour that he stops playing. And if he doesn't ask to keep playing, he loses the privilege. So, but if that's the norm, that people just keep doing stuff without, so I'm just trying to understand like how this system works.
so I
Well,
wouldn't say it's the norm.
first thing I'm gonna do is close the public hearing. The only, I'm trying to recall, but I think the only reason was a handful of these were like that.
Did the other ones?
Normally, we do not put any kind of sunset on the CUP.
Did the other ones continue after?
No, I don't think they're all in operation anymore.
So is that normal to have it go like that?
I would say for this, yes, just
Okay.
because, and the best scenario that I would recommend professionally is to get them in compliance with what they're doing.
Okay.
So that's what the CUP would be doing.
Most of these were all originally intended to be more short-term because of the Highway 52 project, which is expected when a big project like that. And out here, we had a lot of material close to the road, so that's, we ended up like 6 or 7 quarries in a couple of years, so. So I think that's where it came. Normally, like I said, except for those handful, we don't typically put a sunset on a CUP. And I'm just glad that Mr. Penz was willing to come and get everything in
Oh, no, I
compliance.
appreciate that too. Just,
And I do believe, you guys would know better than me, but I think he's been a pretty good neighbor because we've never had any complaints or issues. And the people that live out there, actually, if this reduces the traffic, that's always a good thing.
sure.
So. Any suggestions on how we would word a condition 10 if we want to add?
Did you close the public hearing?
What's that?
Did you close?
You talked about closing it, but I don't think you actually closed
closed
it.
it.
Oh, you
I said
did?
I'll
Okay.
close the public hearing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you had to. vote
And
the
then
second.
we talked about her question.
Then discussion.
Yeah.
Got it.
So you utilize the same wording that they have in their application?
Yeah, I didn't know if we needed to put it all in or how to,
Where is that?
it's on packet page 29. It's actually page 8 of their application. And the lock gate, I think, is already on there, right, as a condition, so 3.3, I don't think we need to worry about anyway. But I don't know if we need to write that whole thing out.
I like it though.
And it's their word.
The
So I assume that they're in favor of using their own wordage.
Elliot, do you know what the critical area planting guide is? What does that mean? I mean, that governs what types of plants in a critical area?
That would be,
That's pretty
My
diverse,
best guess.
I'm gonna guess.
for lack of knowledge, yeah.
Does anyone know what that means?
Is this in their recommendation?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what that is.
I'm assuming Soil and Water has some
Seed
guideline
mix,
booklet thing that they
right?
have.
Like a,
Planting guide.
With Soil and Water or DNR or whoever, yeah.
Okay, use what they have written.
Yeah,
I like what they have.
I think 3.1 and 3.2 just become condition 10. Because 3.3 is covered under condition 4. Although I think we should change it to entrances, plural.
So the duration of an operation like this would actually extend longer than a mine in all likelihood, because there's always going to be road, right, recycling needed.
So if we make a motion and add condition 10, can we just say the condition 10 is based off of their application 3.1 and 3.2?
We'll get it,
And then you'll get.
we'll get it typed up.
The words put in.
Yeah, so it'd be,
Did you catch that?
Mhm.
I don't think we need,
Sometimes I have to stand up to catch things.
I don't think we need the last two sentences in 3.1 though, do we? I think it's just the first paragraph.
Well, if you leave them in there, then they'd have to be suitable
Right.
Yeah,
for those.
that's true, that's true.
Just leave it.
Yeah, I mean, it's their wording, so
Okay,
that was their plan when they submitted it.
sure.
But I do think on number 4, we should change it to entrances instead of entrance. Ken, is the township gonna have any issues with that third driveway?
I don't see why there would be.
It's far enough down
Yeah.
from the,
I mean,
Where
based
you're
on
coming
what
in.
Bill was saying as far as,
when you see the main entrance to the north, going into the housing development there. I mean, it's further down. It's not like they're coming out right where they're coming on, you know.
yeah,
turning
based
The
on,
question I'd have would be is if it's not, you know, a couple hundred feet away from the next driveway to the west, which I don't know is, would that be the access into Ryan's?
Or lot B, right? 'Cause-
no, Ryan's got his own,
Rocky's
Or I'm,
entrance,
yeah, on that,
because that's showing on that right there, it's showing the approach on that as, you know what I mean?
well, this is already here.
That's the current entrance.
And
Ryan's is
there's
right
the access for
That's the,
Ryan.
okay,
oh, that
Down
road is
further.
already
so they're
there?
proposing the
Yeah,
center.
that's
center
Ryan's
one.
access where the curve is the proposed one.
Oh, so the one.
So those two are already there, whether they're too close or not is a moot point now.
So it's only the one that goes into the loop,
Yes,
basically?
and then the one down on the very
This,
north.
this is the new
And
one.
that's already there.
That one's there and the one over there is already existing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think,
I think it's far enough away based on the
no.
number of feet. So. Okay,
And their traffic survey showed up with 325 average daily trips. That's
Which will go down now.
minimal.
right.
And if they drop 5%, you know, you're losing another 15.
Right.
Things
And we have to remember, this is something that, unlike a quarry operation, which during prime season is probably running trucks every day, this operation is gonna go more in spurts, I believe.
probably more seasonal than.
Right. I mean, for me, I don't know, Mr. Penz might be different, but for me, I'm not gonna turn on a crusher if I've got one little pile. I'm gonna wait until that pile gets, bigger, so.
Yeah, and I think I don't remember, Oronoco States, I think got an expansion in it too, didn't they?
Yeah, to
So
the north.
whatever we save on our traffic here is gonna be increased there, but.
Right.
So that's still, we're still at a relatively
But
minimal.
like I said, I don't think we've ever had any complaints.
The trucks aren't terribly loud.
What's that?
The trucks aren't terribly loud, I don't think.
No.
And they're not making that beep, backing up beeping noise that wakes you up in the morning when you're like at a hotel in a city.
Well, and it's all based on need, right? So. Well, I would entertain a motion if there's no other discussion.
I make a motion that we add condition number 10, utilizing their wording from their application. what did I shut it?
3.1 and 3.2.
3.1 and 3.2 to the,
Motion to approve with that additional.
Yep.
Well, to put plural and entrances
And
in
change
for.
it, yeah. Okay, so we have a motion to approve this application, changing condition 4 to be entrances, gated entrances, and adding condition 10, using the wording or based on the applicant's, the application 3.1 and 3.2.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Berg and a second by Mr. Albrecht to approve this with based on staff findings, adding condition 10 and changing 4, yep. Angela, do you have a question? You look like you're contemplating something.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Okay. You're staring at it and you're tapping your fingers. I thought maybe you had another
No,
question.
I was just wondering if this was a road here and if it's gone away, that's all, but I don't think it makes any difference. Anything.
Okay. So based on that, all in favor, Mr. Mergen?
Aye.
Ms. Berg?
Aye.
Mr. Albrecht?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Hi.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. All right. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you for your time.
Keep up the record of no complaints.
Good.
Okay, moving on. We don't have any discussion items tonight. Anything else you guys want to bring up?
When are we gonna have the presentation from county on land use?
Sandy?
Well, from Sandy, yeah, so I think they've been at the county board once or
Yeah, and then she's going back
twice.
tomorrow, actually,
So
for the
it's
county.
not official yet.
It's not official yet. And then once they go through it with the board, then I think she's still going out to the townships.
Mhm.
And at that point, we'll get her to come here.
And then we'll revisit our own.
And then next year, 2022, we will really focus on getting our own done. We don't have much time left this year. And if I have my druthers and we have no applications, we'll just cancel the December meetings.
I vote for that.
So, no, that's kind of where we're at. Were you here when I was talking about the bylaws? Had you gotten here yet?
No.
So, and I know you weren't here, so a couple years ago, the county board gave Tom Canan, who's with the county attorney's office, the job of going through all the boards and commissions bylaws and getting some continuity between them and kind of getting the verbiage into today's, modern verbiage and that kind of stuff. And so he was at our county planning meeting on October 7th and presented the changes that he felt we should make to the county planning. That goes to the county board tomorrow or maybe their next meeting, but once the county board approves that, because they have to approve the bylaws. Once they approve that, then Tom's gonna send me that Word document and then we can tweak it to fit us. Because we don't have to have somebody on the ZBA, what is that, Board of Adjustment, so we'll tweak it to fit us, but it'll get us more current and consistent with everybody else as well. So that might come in the next,
Coming attractions.
yeah, that'll probably come before the land use plan is my guess.
I'd say by the end of the year, it'll probably be.
It'll probably be on our January agenda or something, because we're just waiting for the county board to approve it. If they approve it before our November meeting, I'd like to put it on the November meeting for us to just kind of go through it.
So basically, you just want it on the agenda for the meeting immediately
Let me
following,
put it this way.
or not for December.
If we don't have any applications, I'm assuming November will be canceled as well. If that's the case, and the board has approved it, just mail everybody a copy. We don't need to have a meeting. But if everybody gets a copy and can read through it, copy of the new and a copy of the old, so they can see where the changes are. And then at our January meeting, then you'll have had a chance to look through them and we can vote to adopt.
How long is that?
How long is it?
Like the bylaws, the document?
Probably not too long.
I think your guys' is just maybe a few pages.
Ours is just a few pages, but
Yeah.
it's about to get a little longer.
I was just curious.
Because, and the other thing I was talking to Beth today because you were coming for Charlie, and the question I asked Beth was if you could actually vote, because Charlie is the designated board member. But she went back through and she couldn't find anything in the bylaws that says,
Actually, I thought the bylaws, they just stipulated that there was
A representative.
a representative from the
right,
township.
but I was thinking, the reason I had asked is because if you had in your minutes that Charlie specifically was gonna be the rep, then I don't think you could vote. But if it just says a town board person, it could change month to month. It just happens to be Charlie.
Mhm.
So I just wanna make sure that,
I know. when
I don't
we
know
did-
what your,
When we did like a reorg meeting that we did, I'm the road supervisor and Charlie's doing, fire.
yeah,
Because he attends all the fire meetings with Kim and then he comes to hot pack and that, but those are just kind of the additional assignments. They're not,
right. So when we do our bylaws, I wanna make sure that it doesn't, we don't specifically say one person will be designated.
so stipulated that it's a member of the
Right.
Oronoco Township.
Because I don't know at the county if like Matt Flynn is the county board member that's on the planning and zoning commission. I don't know if they have in their minutes specifically, Matt Flynn does this for a year and, Mark Time does this for a year.
I
Was
wonder
Charlie
if you're-
appointed? Was he appointed as the representative?
Well, that's why I was asking Beth today.
Yeah.
She couldn't find anything.
Okay.
I
But,
wonder if it would be beneficial to the township to have one of the elected officers be here, so it could be the clerk or the treasurer or one of the supervisors.
but the clerk or treasurer aren't voting members
They're not voting members on the
on the
on
board.
the township board.
Right. It's
But
gotta
at the
be,
same time, then none of you.
it'd have to be one of the three of you. Right. I
I
don't,
don't know.
because they're non-voting members, so they wouldn't be voting members here, because they're not officers here.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, they're not an officer, we don't here, so why would they wouldn't have voting rights here either, is my point. So it'd have to be one of the three of you.
Okay.
But and I'm okay, if you guys send us a different person each month, that's fine.
Yep.
It's a little tougher, because you don't have as much consistency, right, but I just wanna make sure that our bylaws or yours don't,
Simply call a specific person.
and just say that there will be a town board supervisor
Right.
on this commission. So anyway, that'll probably, if we don't have a meeting in November, let's just mail the old one and the new one,
Mhm.
and so we can all see where we
We
want to
could
tweak.
probably redline the
things
changes, yeah.
And then we'll, assuming we don't have a December meeting, we'll do it in January then and vote, because we gotta,
I don't think we have any Oronoco applications in right now.
but January is always our organizational meeting anyway, right? We vote for the new chairperson.
Mhm.
When is Alice's term up?
September.
Oh, for a while.
So sometime between now and September, we gotta find an Alice replacement. So if you guys know of anybody that might be interested.
She doesn't want to re-up.
Nope, I think she's got, too many other things going that,
She's gonna say no.
Fair enough.
what's that?
She says, that's Melissa, my wife.
Oh,
I said, my wife will just say no.
well, like I said, Charlie mentioned Chris Adamson. Chris was on this board years ago. He would be very good. But I think Charlie said he actually is thinking he may run for the board when Charlie
Yeah,
leaves.
that'd be a good,
And Chris would be very good as a township board.
Who is
That's what
Chris
Charlie
Evans?
was saying. I don't know if I've ever met him.
Chris, he's a good guy. Sharp.
Where's he live?
Down off 18th.
Like Ridgecrest or
There's Satry Road and then
Windermere?
Thunderbluff.
I think Windermere and somewhere over in that area.
Okay.
What's
Because
that?
Where I live.
the name sounds familiar when we had the ARC. Was he at that, were you at the ARC deal?
The what?
When we,
No, it was
when we were trying to change the
The
wording to
ARC.
ARC,
Definition.
the ARC to
To RA.
standard county-wide. And they were all kind of upset about, no, this is specific to this area and we want to maintain that.
So anyway, if you guys know of anybody or.
Is it ever something that's advertised out to the entire township?
Not usually.
I think typically the township website will have vacancies for boards, but I don't think there's any kind of shout it
Okay.
from the rooftops kind of.
Right. I mean, if you're interested in wanting to get in planning and zoning, you could go out to the website and see if there's an opening.
Yeah, I think it would be good to put it on the website to, I mean, there's probably a lot of smart people out there that we just don't know personally. that would be
At what
interested.
point do you do that? I don't want to do it too
No,
soon and
not
make
too
Alice
soon.
feel bad either. you know?
No, probably like in the summer, right? I would think.
Yeah.
Well, how many, what do we need for a quorum here?
Or,
4?
We have
So it's
6
generally
members.
a 6-person
7.
board, 7-person board.
yeah, we're missing Alice and Adam tonight. 6 plus,
Adam is
6
working.
plus the board supervisor.
Okay. And Adam is working,
Mhm.
or he was when you drove by.
Yeah, yeah, he was on the tractor when I went by. Yeah, September, October, November are always iffy for
So
Adam.
she's already, she's already stipulated that she's not gonna re-up.
Yep.
So, if we listed that, if we came into November's township meeting and, we talked to Kim and say, hey, put a vacancy listing on the website,
Right.
and she's done in November?
Mm-hmm.
She's not. done.
September,
She's
next
September.
September.
Oh, September of next year.
Of next year.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could put it on.
That's why,
Yeah.
May or June is,
Yeah,
So you get somewhere 3 to 6 months ahead of time.
right.
So it's not that it's not gonna make her feel bad, but,
right.
No, as long as the
Yeah,
person
find out.
understands they don't start till October.
Right,
You
Yeah.
could just write it up that way, like
Yeah.
position beginning, this is
right.
what is there something that says what the duties are?
No.
Maybe?
Is there
Planning
a,
and zoning.
job description?
I don't know that they've ever posted it on the website in the past, so.
Would that be something that comes with this new organizational thing that says, like a job description or duties list of?
I mean, I think it would be a good idea
I
to
think
get
That's a great idea.
something written and readily available because we do have new members coming on boards, not just here, but across the county regularly. So I think it would be good to,
Well,
Have
you
just some
guys,
sort
you
of-
guys must have some kind of
I'm sure it wouldn't
job
be
description
too,
for
yeah.
planning and zoning. I mean,
I'm
it
sure.
can't be much different. You change our Homestead to Oronoco.
Yeah.
So you'll work on that for us, Stephanie?
Sure.
Just so people know what they're possibly signing up for.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
And by the way, if anybody is really enjoying this job, there's an opening on the county planning and zoning as well.
That one's even more exciting.
There will be anyway, as soon as this house sells.
Who's leaving?
What's that?
Who's leaving?
Jim Buyer. Jim Beer Buyer. They bought a new house and it happens to be in Wabasha County, so we're losing him.
So it's
Well, that's
elected
sad.
or is
He's a
it
good one.
appointed?
It's appointed.
Mm.
You get to go have a job interview in front of the county board.
It sounds intimidating.
What's that?
That sounds intimidating.
I saw you write down, opening.
I know, I'm kind of,
It's not that hard. They, because I've been on there twice. This is my second go around on there. And I still had to go in for the interview. And Jim Beer, is that his name?
The commission?
Jim Beyer.
Or-
There's-
No, on the
yeah,
county
Beer.
board, Jim Beer.
Beer.
He asked me, he said, so, why do you want to be on the county planning commission? And I looked at him and I said, because I'm a glutton for punishment. And he about fell out of his chair.
You're hired?
I'm like, this is my second time around. If I didn't enjoy it the first time, I wouldn't be back, so. But
I had just a question. I was looking at these maps and this, and it kind of jogged my memory about when Ryland came last year about the wastewater treatment facility and annexing it at Parsons. Have we heard anything?
has
since
anything
then?
happened with that? The city of Oronoco and their wastewater treatment?
I thought they've annexed it, but I don't.
I haven't seen
I haven't
anything,
seen anything.
but I
it's also
wouldn't,
between Oronoco.
and this, yeah, I wouldn't.
To that, that.
I mean, that was
I
like a
think
year
We
and a
did
half ago,
discuss that
right?
about how do they annex that without annexing that road right away.
Well, and I brought that up when he came because, nothing around it is city limits. And I'm like, I don't want you annexing, we'll rent you the property or, what.
Okay.
But I don't think we ought to let him annex this little piece.
No, I
without-
know. I thought they're obviously progressing and that's been a year and a half since he was here. So I was just kind of wondering what's happening with that land.
Kind of like that little township part that's stuck in the middle over there by Tilly's. You
Right.
got this little island
Little floating.
surrounded by the city in there that's still township.
Yeah.
How come they haven't annexed it?
Let's go ahead and make the final motion and then
Oh, yes.
I'll
Yep.
comment on your.
Okay. I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Ms. Smith and a second by Mr. Mergen to adjourn. All in favor, Mr. Mergen,
Aye.
Ms. Berg, Mr. Albrecht,
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Okay, Elliot, I got a question for you.
Yeah.